Grow your cleaning business. Make more money. Have more time. This is the Profit Cleaners Podcast with your hosts, Brandon Condry and Brandon Shane.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Profit Cleaners Podcast, the only place where you can learn from the top 1% of cleaning business owners from around the world to take it to the next level and win. Welcome to the show, guys. We're super excited to have you here. We've got an awesome episode today, and we're going to be talking all about how knowing your competitors' weaknesses can get you more customers. So you're going to want to stay tuned because it's going to be some amazing knowledge and insight. I'm Brandon Shane, your host. I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Brandon Condry, in the house. What's going on, Brandon?
It's Halloween today. I don't know when you guys are listening to it, but today's Halloween, so I'm mentally preparing for trick-or-treat shenanigans later.
Yeah, we just had an awesome coaching call too, and I showed up in my bank robber outfit, and it was really fun. And my kids are all dressed up as bank robbers too. My daughter's a police officer; she's going to arrest us, and my newborn 4-month-old is a bag of money. So we're gonna steal the loot and make it fun. It's gonna be awesome.
That is awesome. I love it.
So, yeah, it's really fun. So speaking of Halloween, we did some really cool stuff in the community. Brandon was out. You can tell him, Brandon, but you were out handing out candy and cards, and we do like different promotional things in the community and online as always. But
I think that's probably a good.
Right,
yeah, that's a good podcast episode on its own. So maybe we'll add that to its list. But I stumbled upon a place where our ideal customer hangs out in droves. So we'll record another episode and talk about that one.
Yeah. Stay tuned, guys. We'll hook you up with some amazing new knowledge on that one too. So, yeah, but let's talk about how knowing your competitor's weakness can get you more customers. This is really, really key for sales when you guys are doing estimates, when you're talking to customers, educating your customers on why work with your company. How are you differentiated? Why? A lot of people think cleaning is just a commodity, right? You're just like every other cleaner out there. It's just going to be the same thing, right? So why should I pay more for you? So when you kind of realize these objections, when you know the objections, and you know the things that people are going to push back on when you're doing an estimate, when you're talking to someone on the phone who wants to sign up for services, and you treat every objection like a complaint, and then you transition and you help kind of like tell people things they didn't even know they didn't know, right? Just educating them and providing value. This is why you hop on the phone with customers, and that's why we don't like giving an instant quote on our website, because these are the opportunities you guys have to explain how you're different, explain the value, right, Brandon? And I think us going out and doing those estimates in the very beginning, Brandon did like 90% of them. Brandon, we learned a lot of this stuff kind of just doing it, right? We learned like who else was out there. They would give us like, hey, I'm talking to this company and this company and this company, and they would give you the quotes even. So we would learn our competitors' pricing, we would learn what they're doing on the website, and it really helped us come up with our pitch, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a difference than gathering like dirt on your competitors so that you can badmouth them. Like, that's not what this is. This is more like an overall intelligence sort of exercise to know your market. So who else is in the market? What do they do that's different than you? So earlier when Brandon was talking about how cleaning is a commodity and they all do the same things, it's all about price. It is not all cleaning companies are created equal. And so the reason we don't do the instant quote is that I want to tell you what we do so I can differentiate us versus the competition. And then when I tell you the price, ideally you go, whoa, I thought it was going to be way more than that based on what you did. So that's why we tell them the price last. And over those years of doing those in-person estimates, I learned so much about the competition. So they fall into a couple different buckets, really. So there's like the franchisee cleaners that have the word made in it that every city in the United States certainly has, maybe 2 of them even. So there's 2 different versions of that franchise. There's solo sort of house cleaners. So oftentimes this is like under the table cash payments. And then there's other cleaning companies that are maybe more like you guys, which are a bit more organized and trying to be like a part of the community local business. So what are the differences there? So like, it's not even that I went out looking for this. It's that people told me. So we do this, this, and this. Oh, the other company doesn't do that. Or here, like I loved getting copies of other people's quotes where it had their checklists and things like that. That was always my favorite. So yeah, which one of those do you want to cover first, Mr. Shane?
Yeah, I mean, I think let's start with franchises, because there's really the two buckets we're going to talk about is franchises or like solo cleaners, and kind of the weaknesses, right? And so when you guys know these weaknesses, you can point them out as it's an opportunity to point out, here's how we're different, here's how, and then when you do this, people a lot of times will be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. You're right. I didn't even know that they did that, right? And it builds value, and you're kind of like solving these issues. Like first of all, if you don't work with these customers, you're doing them a disservice by letting them to go and work with someone else, because they're going to have a bad experience. All these things you're going to educate them on. They're going to say, wow, thank you for telling me that. I really appreciate you like being upfront with me and telling me, like, a lot of people just don't know, or they've had a really bad experience and that's why they're coming to work with you, because they're like,
yes,
I can't do this anymore. I just need a better company, right? So let's dive into it, Brandon. Yeah. Franchises,
sure.
Let's start there.
So anytime that we were doing these estimates, we're kind of practicing this thing called question-based selling. So I'm going to ask you some questions and listen to the answers instead of just launching into this pitch. If you don't have any info to give me, I have a pitch. I have a pitch prepared to tell you. But if you called and you were like, I'm really sick of my current cleaner, can you guys come out? Yeah, what are the issues with your current cleaner? And then you can just hit their pain points right away. They never showed up on time. They canceled all the time, whatever it may be. So keep that in mind as we go through this list. These are things that may not necessarily be the case in every market, but you can learn this by talking to your leads, to your customers, about why they liked you better than the competition, why they came back after they canceled, whatever it may be. So with franchises, technically speaking, it is a local business, I guess. Like there's a local franchisee who's running the thing, but it's very corporate feeling. There's going to be a corporate training video with a guy in a polo explaining how corporate wants you to do this. All the policies and stuff get handed down from sort of a corporate standpoint. The marketing is usually all the same and unified, which is good for a big corporation like McDonald's. Like you want consistency at McDonald's, but they're not nimble. So like franchises can't stand out in a local market because they have to run it through approvals, or their franchise fee is covering marketing expense and they're waiting for the quarterly update of the flyer or whatever. You know what I mean? Like there's lots of different versions of it, but generally speaking, there's less culture. There's a lot of churn. They pay people very low. They're running it on an algorithm or something like that. It's very rigid. And usually like the feedback we've gotten from all the employees that we have is that they're just not fun to work at. Like there's some middle manager person who's just not a good manager. Like people don't quit jobs, they quit managers. So that's it. And then the other thing is like the customer service is totally hit or miss. We've had so many interactions with you guys listening to this podcast, other cleaning company owners telling us what it's like when you're doing your competition research, where you're reaching out to these franchises and they're like not getting back to you in a timely fashion, or they're answering the phone and being like whatever, like I'm doing 10 other things right now, so sure, it's this much. Like it just doesn't feel like they're in it. They're not in it to win it. Again, this goes back to the corporate policies and stuff, and you know, like lots of cubicles and things like that. It's just not a local company.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have walked into a business before and you can just feel like the culture's off, like people don't want to be there. People are like, what do you want? Like, you know, and that's how it is a lot of times with these bigger companies. They're disconnected feeling. It feels like you're just a number to them. They don't answer the phone, or they don't call you back, or if they do, they're very short with you and like, what do you need? Okay, here it is. Here's the quote. See you later. So there's a lot of, you know, some people, you know, obviously those businesses have been around for a long time, 30, 50 plus years, whatever it is. There's one I know specifically, Brandon would always bring back the estimate in the checklist, and they would like rotate all these weird checklists every time. And it was just like, why would you do that to the customer? Like half your house got cleaned this time, the other half got cleaned that time. Like, but it's working on the corporate level, right? So it's working for these big companies, but it's just not a good experience. And so again, you have such an opportunity. Like Brandon said, these companies are not nimble and quick. So another story too, when we very first started this business, 7-8 years ago, Brandon and I were brainstorming, shooting darts in Brandon's garage, having a beer and just talking about what business we're going to start. And I remember at this time, I was using one of these big companies. I'm not going to say which one. You guys know there's only a few big franchises out there, but I had a police sheriff across the street that lived across the street from me, and he said, "Hey, what are you doing using that company?" Well, he's like, "Stop using those companies, because we get so many reports all the time of these people casing houses. They have high turnover. So they come and work for the company for a week or two. They get all the addresses. They see inside all the houses, what's inside them. Oh, that one has the big screen TV. This one has this." They tell their friends, they get the door codes, they make a copy of the key, whatever. And they would, they case these houses, and there's robberies all the time. So this is another reason why people don't like working with franchises, because there's more risk, right? There's a potential, maybe in your market it's not as bad, but in Albuquerque, we have a lot of crime, and this was happening a lot. And so we were like, boom, there's another opportunity, right? All problems are opportunities in disguise. And so the fact that there was a high level of distrust with a lot of these companies, Brandon and I were like, oh man, they're arguing with people in the reviews, they're robbing people's houses. Like, people want a company they can trust. So that's where we came in, right? With our local business and our family local business you can trust, right? So
exactly. And so
that's franchises. Let's dive in. Yeah.
We structured some of our marketing to reflect those things. Like, your marketing drifts over time as you listen to your market. That's how it should be. So trust is a problem. How do we solve that problem? We background check everybody. We pay a living wage, so there's less incentive for them to need to steal stuff from you. We try to keep employees for a long time. We promote from within. That reduces churn. Like, that churn thing where you need employees constantly, that's what leads to those situations where, like, sure, you have a pulse and you walked in the door, I'll hire you, you'll work for a week, get all that data, and then leave. Like, you can counteract that by just being a place that people actually want to go to work at, which is not how those corporations work. So that's franchises. So we kind of covered all that. The next thing is like the house cleaners. And really the idea for this podcast spawned from a conversation that my wife had with one of our neighbors, who had called to ask Erica, how do you feel about your own cleaning company? And the story she told Erica was that they've had the same housekeeper for 10 years. She started off great, but over time, she doesn't think she wants the job. She's like quitting the cleaning job. And so she's trying to figure out a way to replace it. But we came up with an ad idea, like on the spot. What if we run an ad that says, is your housekeeper tired, quietly quitting after 10 years? They deserve a break. So do you. Book a clean today. So that's kind of where we started. And so this is a very common story that I heard over and over and over again. We've had this housekeeper forever, but they just stopped trying hard. And so that's just being complacent. I worked really hard to show you that I wanted the business. You kept paying me. Over time, I stopped working as hard. And you're non-confrontational, and I don't have a manager because it's just me. So you didn't say anything, and now it's 10 years into it, and now you're mad, but you're not going to tell me you're mad because you've known me for 10 years. And so people kind of get stuck. The other side of that coin was people saying they had the same housekeeper for like 20 years, but now they're having health problems. They can't go up the stairs anymore. I remember one where one of our customers paid for a knee replacement surgery for their housekeeper, and then switched them from every 2 weeks to every 4 weeks. And then they had us come every 4 weeks on the opposite 2-week schedule, so that it actually got cleaned, but they still got to feel good about paying their housekeeper. So these are things that people do. It sounds nonsensical to some people, but a lot of people treat their housekeepers like a member of the family. And I'm not trying to get you to fire your family, but here's what you get by using one of these companies: a robust customer service, setup where you can talk to us, scheduling, floaters to fill in when someone calls in sick, maintained vehicles that are going to show up on time every time. And I think the big one is insurance. So the housekeepers out there that you're paying cash for do not carry workers' comp, do not carry liability insurance. So if they burn down your house by accidentally twisting a gas knob while they were cleaning it, and it explodes, that's on you and your homeowner's insurance. And then in some cases, your insurance company will go after the house cleaner to sue them to recoup their losses for like negligence or whatever it may be. And you don't want that to happen, but it doesn't matter. That's how the insurance company is going to deal with it. The same thing applies if they hurt themselves in your house. They fell down a set of stairs, incurred a boatload of medical bills. They took it to their medical insurance. The insurance company is going to ask questions. How did you hurt yourself? How did you fall down the stairs? Oh, I was working for who? Myself. And then maybe that health insurance company that your house cleaner has is going to come after you to cover their medical bills. So I hate talking about this stuff. I do not like motivating people with fear. I don't like telling this to customers, but I prefer to focus on the customer service. We have insurance, they don't, instead of going to the nitty gritty. But if they push back, I'm happy to unload more details on you that we learned by talking to customers for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just like you're saving them from having this horrible experience. And so a lot of times people will be like, well, you guys are more expensive. Like, I could just get it down the street for $100, right? Like, and it's like, well, you could, but actually it's going to cost you a lot more money. And this is where the education comes in. Like, when you just tell people these things, they go, oh, I didn't even think about that. And like, wow, you're right. I don't want to have that experience. Thank you for saving me the nightmare and the drama and all the like, you're here to solve a problem, not give them more problems, right? And so like they're already going to be experienced on all these issues if they're using franchises or solo cleaners, housekeepers. And I have a personal story of this. Is I'm living up in a smaller town right now. Brandon and I don't live in our main headquarter town anymore, but it's really hard to find a cleaner up here. There's no cleaning companies, right? There's only like 1,000 people in this town. So we've tried several solo cleaners, and kind of the same thing we're telling you guys. This is exactly why we built this company, because it's a horrible experience. Every time one of these solo cleaners comes in, they spend all day at my house, right? I work from home. My kids are homeschooled. It's not convenient. It's a bad experience right off the bat. But especially if it's just one person, they're coming in and the first time, maybe it's good. Maybe it was great. But then it just drifts, right? The quality drifts. They come back and next time it's different. They come back next time and they miss something else. And yeah, if you're confrontational, you'll tell them, but a lot of people aren't confrontational. They don't want to tell you these things. And so all this like anger builds up and they're like, gosh, the cleaners are not doing what I'm paying them for. And then they just want to fire them, right? But it's going through all this anguish of like, every time they come, they don't do what I'm paying them for. They miss stuff or they don't show up. Like this happened last week. Hey, can I reschedule on you for this day or this day? I got a doctor's appointment, or my car won't start, and you're just like, man, I don't want to pay you to manage you. Like, I just want you to show up and do the thing. And make my life better, right? Give me my job. So that's what it ends up becoming is, and then you know, when you mention things like cross-contamination, this is a huge one. People go, oh my gosh, I didn't think about this. But a lot of these like solo cleaners and other companies, maybe not the franchises as much, but the solo cleaners and housekeepers are not using systems. They're not using color coding systems. They're not using the green towel on the toilet and the blue one on the kitchen. They might be using the same mop all over your house from 5 other people's houses. They might be using the same microfiber that clean the toilet on your kitchen sink and cross-contaminate. People get sick now. They're pouring bleach all over your house, whatever it might be. So again, they're using like the cheapest products and resources they can use versus what we're providing is eco-friendly. It's non-toxic. There's not off-gassing chemicals all over your house. We're not cross-contaminating. We have insurance. We have all these things, right? All these systems and structures that make it a great experience for people. And then when you start to tell people just the things we just listed off, we rattled off a bunch of things there, people go, oh my gosh, you're right. I could get it for $100 cheaper down the street, but I'm actually going to be paying a lot more, like long term, for like micromanaging the teams, maybe getting sick, maybe I have to pay for something if someone slips and falls in my house, right? Who knows? There's so many. It's a can of worms, really. So when you provide this education to your customer, it will help you win more deals, because customers are going to say, I get it. It's valuable. I get what you guys are doing different. You're different. You're more valuable. I want to be part of what you're doing. My money is going to go further working with you, because you also have a mission and a purpose in your business. You're doing good work in the community too. So these are the reasons you guys want to like understand these, because you can really relate it back to your customer and make them say, wow, I didn't even think about that. I would rather pay more money for a great experience. Even if it's the same product, it's a better experience. It's more in less time, right? Things like that. People are going to pay more for that and stay on as a long-term customer.
Yeah. So, all of this, you can get this information from talking to your customers, but I think one of the best ways to do this is to actually go hire the competition. Like, especially if you're brand new and you haven't started yet and they don't know your name, hire the franchise. Take notes. What did they say during the sales call? Were they rude? Were they approachable? Does the checklist get done every time? How much is it? ask questions. How much do you pay people? Are they paid a living wage? Do you have this kind of car insurance coverage? Do you carry, are you going to protect things if they break things? Like if they break something and I call to tell you, how do you deal with that? Ask those questions. Same thing with the housekeeper. Hire a housekeeper. See what they like, and then just take notes. And then when you go to start your own company, you'll already have that experience under your belt. And then over time, you gather so much more when you're talking to your leads. And so I just think one of the important parts when you're doing that is to just retain that information. They're going to give you little nuggets of knowledge in those conversations about why they're not going to hire you. I'm not going to hire you. Why? The other one's $100 cheaper. Okay. How long are they going to spend in your house? How many people do they have on staff? Yada, yada, yada. So there's lots of ways to do it. I just think the important part is a lot of companies gloss this over, and you definitely need to be taking notes and using this for your thing. I love talking to people when they tell me, oh, I use so-and-so, I'm really happy with them. I'm like, oh yeah, have they done this, this, or this? Because I have stories, and then they're like, maybe I should give you a try. That happened just this week at one of the Halloween things. Someone was using a different green cleaner in Santa Fe, and we exchanged some stories there, and I told them how we were different, and then they reached out to our customer service team today. So it's interesting. It's just, it's just part of knowing your market. That's part of being a good business owner.
Absolutely. And there's a great book you guys should pick up. It's called The Art of War by Sun Tzu, I believe. He's like one of the old Chinese military directors or whatever, and he talks, you can relate a lot of this to business. He talks about using your competitor's weakness as a strength, right? Like for yourself, right? So if you know your competitor's weakness, you can flip that on them, and you can use that to your advantage. And so this is all we're describing to you guys is like, know your market, know what the potential options are, what are the choices your customers have. If you already know what they're thinking, you can answer the questions they're already thinking in their own mind, even ahead of time, even answer the things they're not even thinking about. And that's so valuable, right? Because that means you save them time, you save them research, you save them experiencing that on their own and having a horrible experience. And so again, it's just so valuable when you know these things. You can educate your customers. Another way to provide value is educate them, ask the right questions in your sales process, find out what they're needing and those pain points like Brandon was saying at the beginning. But ultimately, this is going to make your sales process so much easier because you're really just solving a problem. You're just having a conversation. You're just trying to help them out. But when you know, here's what you're going to run into, Mr. Customer. Like, what's the uncertainty of not working with us now? Let me just tell you what's going to happen when you work with this one or this one out here. Here's what we hear a lot about, and here's how we're different. Don't talk badly and poorly about your competition. Just point out, here's the differences. Here's why we're better and different. This is what's going to happen with the other guys. And when you do that the right way, people are going to respond and reciprocate and want to work with you. So it's just going to help you get way more customers and work with the people that are the better customers too, because they're not just shopping around for the cheapest price. They're not doing this for price. They're doing this for the experience, for the results, to get their time back, which is priceless, right? So help them solve the problem, give them this education, and I think it'll really help you guys get way more customers. So
there you go.
That's the name of the game. So alrighty, well, we'll see you guys on the next episode. Be great, keep it clean. See you guys next one.
Keep it clean.
Thanks for joining us today. To get more info, including show notes, updates, trainings, and super cool free stuff, head over to ProfitCleaners.com. And remember, keep it clean.